Hello, welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Chat About It with me, Rachel, aka the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Help me get to 600 subscribers. Check out my Rumble and my Spotify, and of course, my X, where I tweet more opinions than I probably will ever release on here. So, today's video is about the Scottish hate crime bill. That was the news I was waiting for to drop because I knew that, well, people weren't going to take lightly to it. It essentially, well, it impacts on a lot of free speech. Let's just put it like that. We, of course, are going to be talking about J.K. Rowling as well because she did not disappoint. She certainly had her say this morning on Twitter. And, of course, India Willoughby has responded as India Willoughby would respond as expected. If you want to know my stance on J.K. Rowling, go back to my earlier videos. You can learn my stance there. I tend to keep my stance now completely out of the videos, but I tell you what, some things are definitely very, very interesting. But first of all, we are going to cover the hate crime bill, which had a brief statement released on it today. This is the government Scottish website, so I guess it's not a brief statement, it's actually the government website. New hate crime laws come into force. This is the brief outline. I will link it, of course, so that you can go and have a look for yourself and make your own decisions. Greater protection for victims and communities. New measures to tackle the harm caused by hatred and prejudice come into force today, 1st of April 2024. The Hate Crime and Public Order Scotland will provide greater protection for victims and communities. It introduces new offences for threatening or abusive behaviour, which is intended to stir up hatred based on prejudice towards characteristics, including age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, transgender identity, and variations in sex characteristics. These extra provisions will add to the long-standing stirring up racial hatred offences, which have been in place UK-wide since 1986. The new laws were developed following Lord Bracadale's independent review of hate crime legislation, which concluded that new specific offences relating to stirring up hatred were needed. The legislation, which was passed by a majority of MSPs in the Scottish Parliament in 2021, was also subject to extensive consultation engagement throughout including with communities affected by hate crime. Minister for Victims and Community Safety, Siobhan Brown, said, "Nobody in our society should live in fear, and we are committed to building safer communities that live free from hatred and prejudice. We know that the impact on those receiving end of physical, verbal, or online attacks can be traumatic and life-changing. This legislation is an essential element of our wider approach to tackling that harm." Protections for freedom of expression are built into the legislation passed by Parliament, and these new offences have a higher threshold for criminality than the long-standing offence of stirring up racial hatred, which has been in place since 1986. And then it's got some background on the actual bill. So there you go. And of course, J.K. Rowling did not disappoint. So J.K. Rowling did not, of course, disappoint. She came forward with her opinion. She said in the past that she will do time for not denying that biological sex is real. She said that she would do time for that. I believe her. I genuinely do, because she's maintained her stance on that. If you're wondering why the screen is like this, is because there's something that is on the screen that I can't actually show. So her first tweet of 11 is, "Scotland's Hate Crime Act comes into effect today. Women gain no additional protections, of course, but well-known trans activist Beth Douglas, darling of prominent Scottish politicians, falls within a protected category. Phew, that's one of 11. Lovely Scottish lass and convicted double RAP ist Isla Bryson found her true, authentic female self shortly before she was due to be sentenced. Misgendering is hate, so respect Isla's pronouns, please. Love the leggings. Fragile Flower, Katie Dolotwolski, 6'5", was rightly sent to a women's prison in Scotland after conviction. This ensured she was protected from violent, predatory men. Unlike the 10-year-old girl, Katie essayed in a woman's public bathroom. Samantha Norris was cleared of exposing her male genitals to two 11-year-old girls. Hooray. Unfortunately, she was convicted for the possession of 16,000 images of children being RAPED and SA'd. Be that as it may, Sam's still a lady to me, 4 of 11. Scottish woman and butcher Amy George abducted an 11-year-old while dressed in female clothing. No idea why this was mentioned in court. Of course, she was wearing women's clothing. She's a woman. Amy took the girl home and essayed her over a 27-hour period. But most women aren't axe toters or essays or essay offenders. So let's talk role models. Guila Valentino in red wanted to play on the women's team because of sisterhood, validation, and political visibility. Naturally, she was given some boring cis girl's place. Yay for inclusion. Mridua Wada, head of Scottish RAPE Crisis Centre, says, SA happens to bigoted people as well. She has no gender recognition certificate, but was still appointed to the job for women only. Time to be challenged on your prejudices, RAPE victims. Monroe Bergdorf isn't just a pretty face. Public campaigner for a children's charity until safeguarding concerns were raised, she was appointed UN Women's first ever UK champion. What makes a woman has no definitive answer, says Monroe. Great choice, UN woman. Katie Neves has been appointed as the UN Woman UK delegate. She switched from straight man to lesbian at the age of 48 and in a leaked 2022 webinar described how she used to enjoy stealing and wearing her sister's underwear. A truly relatable representative. Last but least, TV's India Willoughby proves we women can call a black broadcaster a nasty bitch who wouldn't be anywhere without woke dub lesbian men, insults the looks of a female Olympic swimmer, joke about kidnapping feminists and still get airtime. What a girl. April Fools. Obviously, the people mentioned in the above tweet aren't women at all, but men. Every last one of them. In passing, the Scottish Hate Crime Act, Scottish lawmakers seem to have placed higher value of the feeling of men performing their idea of femaleness, however misogynistically or opportunistically, than on the rights and freedoms of actual women and girls. The new legislation is wide open to abuse by activists who wish to silence those of us speaking out about the dangers of eliminating women's and girls' single-sex spaces. The nonsense made of crime data is violent, and essays committed by men are recorded as female crimes. The grotesque unfairness of allowing males to compete in female sports, the injustice of women's jobs, honors, and opportunities being taken by trans-identified men, and the reality and immutability of biological sex. For several years now, Scottish women have been pressured by their government and members of the police force to deny the evidence of their eyes and ears, repudiate biological facts, and embrace a neo-religious concept of gender that is unprovable and untestable. The redefinition of woman to include every man who declares himself one has already had serious consequences for women's and girls' rights and safety in Scotland, with the strongest impact felt as ever by the most vulnerable, including female prisoners and RAPE survivors. It is possible to accurately describe or tackle the reality of violence and SA committed against women and girls, or address the current assault on women's and girls' rights, unless we are allowed to call a man a man. Freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offence under the terms of the new Act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. If you agree with the views set out in this tweet, please retweet it. Arrest me, April Fools, Hate Crime Act Scotland. So what do you think about that? Do you agree with that? What she has just said, do you agree with that? Of course, though, she mentioned India Willoughby, and we know that there has been some beef with India Willoughby and her in the past. So we should really get to it. So this is something that India now has in India's description on X. World's first transgender trans newsreader, cis, 21st century suffragette, Woman of the Year nominee 2023, indisputably female, 10th worst person in the UK, and that's a quote by Dan Wooten. So that's India's current profile description. What do you make of that? Now, there were some tweets that were put out yesterday. Yesterday was Trans Visibility Awareness Day on Easter Sunday. Those 2 days rarely fall on the same time of year, on the same day anyway. But, well, Caitlyn Jenner certainly had something to say about it. And here we go. India Willoughby. Now, this was deleted, just so you know. But it was screen captured before it got deleted. Wow. You want to know what I think, Caitlyn? This is Caitlyn Jenner. I don't think you are actually trans. I think you're someone with money who went on a fantasy trip. A rich Debbie Hayton. Debbie Hayton is a transsexual woman, and India misgendered Debbie Hayton. Now, Debbie Hayton didn't care. She didn't care about that, but it wasn't the point. India also wished for Debbie's early demise as well. So this was the tweet that Caitlyn Jenner put out. I'm absolutely disgusted that Joe Biden has declared the most holy of holy days, a self-proclaimed devout Catholic, as Transgender Day of Visibility. The only thing you should be declaring on this day is he is risen. Now, Joe Biden did actually put out a tweet to do with Easter Sunday before he actually tweeted about Transgender Day of Visibility. But there was a very distinct difference between the amount that was put out for the Easter Sunday statement that he made versus the Transgender Day of Visibility tweet and statement that he made. There was a distinct difference, you know. But India said, "Are you actually trans, Caitlyn Jenner? Because you sound like someone with money who got carried away with a fantasy." And then this was India's response to J.K. Rowling. "What a sad, pathetic sight. The best-known author in the world sitting up all night to write a long troll post about me." Right, okay. Wasn't just you. So, just to be clear, because she's consumed by hatred of trans people. Completely deranged. Scotland, hate crime in hashtags. Now, there you go. Those were some of the tweets that India has tweeted with regards to trans people. And then this is India's response. So make of that what you will. Make of that what you will. So, what do you think about this? Is J.K. Rowling taking one for the team, or is India Willoughby 100% right? What do you think? Let me know. Chat about it, don't shout about it. I am here for this story. I'm finding it very, very intriguing. Subscribe to my channel. Check out my Rumble, my Twitter, and my Spotify. I release on there as well. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.